My name's Deputy Inspector General of Police, Dr. Shehu, PSC. To talk about PRAWA, Prisoners Rehabilitation and Welfare Action, we have a very, very good rapport, good understanding, and good synergy between the police and PRAWA for many years. It is an institution that concerns primarily on respect of dignity and human rights, which the police are supposed to be part of it. And also capacity building to the police to enable them to perform effectively and efficiently in conjunction with the fundamental respect to the fundamental human rights as enshrined into the Nigerian constitutions of 1999. It's very, very beneficial, and at the same time in building capacity and enabling the police officers to perform credibly when they go out to discharge their duties. The police is an organization that deals with all kinds of human beings. When they come across a police officer, they deserve to be respected by police in ensuring not only their security and safety, but also in respecting their dignity and human rights. So in a nutshell, the training and retraining we are getting from the PRAWA is to enable us have police that will function and discharge their duties in a most standard and acceptable manner by members of the public. At this juncture, I want to say kudos. Welcome to the Nigeria Police Force online training.
Welcome back, and thanks for being here. Now we'll be looking at policing and protection of the rights of women and other vulnerable groups. What is the lesson objective of this? We want at the end of this module, you, the police officer, should be able to identify the importance of gender to policing and the principles and standards relevant to women's rights and the rights of the vulnerable groups in the society. Now, what should be the outcome? We expect that you should, at the end of the lesson, understand the importance of understanding gender concepts in policing. Now, to introduce this session, we want to look at some important issues. First of all, the issues around identification of principles and standards relevant to women's rights and the rights of other vulnerable groups. The importance of elaborating on the police force as an agent of change, and in particular, in achieving gender equality in the society. And the fact that gender issues should be dealt with by the police at two levels: at the level of police institution and at societal level. You remember I referred you to issues of gender within the force itself. Now, outside the force, within the society, how do we treat women that are police officers and how do we equally handle issues of gender within the force and even outside the force. Now, what should be policing principles and standards relevant to women's rights and the rights of other vulnerable groups? Apart from women, we know that there are other vulnerable groups, persons with disabilities, children, elderly persons, widows, and orphans. We equally have victims of conflict situations. Example, people in the Northeast, victims around the Boko Haram activities and the rest of them, victims of domestic/sexual violence, people living with stigma. Example, HIV, AIDS victims or survivors, rape survivors, and victims of human trafficking. Now, we want us to kindly note that police is obligated to take particular care when dealing with certain categories of persons. Example, let's just take example, rape victims. Rape victims should be treated with utmost care. There shouldn't be any form of stereotyping. There shouldn't be any attitude that portrays, you self, when you were raped, what clothes were you putting on? Did you paint your face? Now, you are the one that attracted that man to rape you. There shouldn't be that kind of stereotyping. Now, in dealing with special persons, like disabled persons, example is a female deaf and dumb, we should also be very, very careful to attend to them the way they should know that they equally have rights. At the police station, there should be an interpreter. A female deaf and dumb that has been raped needs to communicate that. Now, regarding the protection of the rights of the stated categories of persons, we should look at certain international and regional documents on human rights and domestic legislations. Now, our obligation regarding the protection and respect of the members of these particularly sensitive groups should be dealt with without discrimination. And even if there should be, there is what we call positive discrimination. That is when you pay particular attention to certain group of persons because of their special conditions. Example is like the case of maybe a deaf and dumb woman that has been raped. Non-discrimination should be related to members of particular sensitive groups. So we should not discriminate against them. It is important for police officers to also know that each of the groups listed above face multiple barriers due to their multiple identities. For example, in a patriarchal society, disabled women face double discrimination of being a woman and being disabled. That's why a disabled woman, example, a deaf and dumb, can stand as two men discuss how to rape her. She wouldn't know. You see, the fact that she's a woman, the fact that the men feel that they're entitled to have her body, and the fact that even as the discussion is going on, she does not understand. Okay. Now, children and elderly persons should also be protected because they are also vulnerable. I want to emphasize on children. Their own vulnerability manifests in different ways, like in child trafficking, child labor, commercial sexual exploitation of children. Take, for example, what happens with Amajiri children. That movement from one place to the other, a lot of things happen in between, and these children need to be protected. The human rights approach that we should be taking should emphasize the inclusion of all categories of persons, and we should equally capture their needs and concerns in all our processes and procedures as police officers. We need to do this. Now, what should be the role of the police in protecting the rights of women and other vulnerable groups? First of all, the police organization should play an important role in protecting the rights of women and other vulnerable groups. They are supposed to uphold the rule of law and perform their duties with sensitivity and regard for the rights of women and the vulnerable groups. What do we mean by sensitivity? Assuming two persons are arrested, one is a man, one is a woman, and what is available at your station? Number one, first, you should not put the man and the woman inside the same cell, except you want further abuse of rights to happen. Now, if you have just one bucket of water, consider the woman. Remember the biological differences. Remember that a woman menstruates and a man does not. And that woman needs to have her bath. Please attend to her. That is part of what we call positive discrimination. You attend to that. Now, what are our challenges? We have beautiful laws. We have beautiful policies. We have issues around enforcement and implementation. My dear police officers, implementation and enforcement fall under your table, but the laws themselves equally have gaps. Most of our laws, the language says he, as if it's only men that are in Nigeria. Now, married women are disqualified from enlisting in the Nigeria police force. So simply for the fact that somebody is married, automatically the person is not qualified to be a police officer. Even in the past, but I believe that right now with the new Police Reform Act, this must have been changed. In the past, female officers, when they are employed, are not expected to be pregnant within the next 2 years. They are not even expected to get married without the permission of their commissioner of police or their supervising officer, while the male counterpart can do his wedding immediately after coming out from training. I am believing strongly that the new act must have taken care of this. But this is to tell you that it is wrong, that previously no place is given to marriage, pregnancy, and childbirth for the female police officers. Rules and regulations guiding this seem very inhuman for the female police officers. These are not all. Women also have challenges of accommodation and welfare issues. Female police officers are not allowed to live in police barracks, although some officers violate this. But the fact that it is a policy is bad. But I believe that the Reform Act must have taken care of this. Now, gender insensitivity of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, the Penal Code, Criminal Code, further compound the insensitivity of the Nigeria police officers to gender issues in the police force and the society at large. Let me just give you one simple example. Section 51D of the Penal Code permits a man to admonish the wife and correct her by flogging. Can you imagine? And the law, to perpetuate this evil, goes ahead to say that it won't be a crime, except if such woman, the assault of such woman by the husband, the flogging of such woman is to the extent that she was hospitalized above 14 days. You can imagine. Which means a man can batter the wife as much as he wants, as long as he tells the doctor to discharge her after 9 days or 10 days, is no longer a crime. I have several friends that say that this is from the Quran. that it is somehow symbolic, that the man is supposed to take the end of his clothes and just do pam pam on the woman's palm. But is it every injunction in the Quran that is obeyed as it is? So any man can, on the basis of that, abuse the wife thoroughly. And this is a challenge. This section must be out of the penal code. There is need to identify gender gaps in communities which could further strengthen the understanding of the following: gender stereotypes, cultural views on men and women's roles. And the police officers are expected to understand all this so that they will remove their cultural clothes at home before going to work. They don't go to work carrying those sensitive mindsets around culture and use it in the implementation of our laws. Now, we should understand the gender discriminatory practices in the society and know how to attend to this. A child, a girl child, should not suffer female genital mutilation. The Violence Against Persons Prohibition Act has prohibited that. Now, we must review and address the gender disparities existing in police acts, regulations, and force orders. Thank God, I think the Reform Act has already taken care of most of these things. We must develop our capacity and skills as police officers to handle gender-based violence and violence against women. And we should develop monitoring and evaluation frameworks to attend to issues of gender violence. And we should comply with obligations under international, regional, and national laws. Then, utilizing our police as positions as police officers, we should eliminate gender discriminatory practices in the society by protecting the rights of women. That is all for today. Next time, we will take ourselves to another module, still on gender and human rights. Thank you.